watching My 53.
And now, your no-wait weather forecast from My 53.
Well, the moisture has moved out, but talk about a chilly morning from Bakersfield to Merced. Here's how it looked in Bakersfield this afternoon. Now, we woke up to temperatures, though, in the low 40s. The mountains were well below the freezing mark. Highs around Fresno today, low 60s. It was warmer in Bakersfield, but get used to the cooler weather, at least for the rest of the week. We'll explain in your full no-wait weather forecast coming up. But first, yet another mass shooting, this time in our nation's largest city. Plus, a UC Merced campus officer arrested for stalking and domestic violence. And remembering a comic genius, Gilbert Gottfried, dead at 67 tonight.
From Fresno to Bakersfield and covering all of California, this is the Valley's only 8 o'clock news. My 53 News at 8 starts right now.
It is Tuesday night. Good evening. I'm Austin Reed. It has happened again. First in Sacramento last week, now in our nation's capital. 10 dead, dozens seriously hurt. All right, My 53 News at 8 is just getting started. Coming up with Easter on the way, we are digging deeper tonight with the Jehovah's Witnesses of California. What's their message for Easter this year? Also ahead, our Lisa Autry has your Tidy Tuesday tip of the day. And we'll check your no-wait weather forecast. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Valley's only 8 o'clock newscast with Austin Reed. This is My 53 News at 8.
And welcome back. Inflation picked up again.
And now, your no-wait weather forecast from My 53.
Welcome back to Fresno and Bakersfield's only source for primetime news in true primetime, 8 to 9. I'm Austin Reed. Connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok at Austin Reed on air. We thank you for joining us. You know, Easter is right around the corner, and today we are going to be joined by our first guest. This is Gene. Gene, how do you say your last name? I don't want to mess it up.
Sure, Beltran.
Beltran. Okay, well, I was going to say that, but... Welcome.
Great to be here with you, Austin.
You are the spokesperson for...
I'm one of the 2 spokesmen for Jehovah's Witnesses here in California.
Exciting news, because the pandemic forced you guys kind of to go remote for a couple of years, right?
Absolutely. The pandemic strikes, and like so many of us, it caught us in a situation where we had to do an incredible pivot. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses, we had been meeting together in our Kingdom Hall since 1879, and we meet worldwide in congregations. There's almost 8 million of us. Wow. And of course, March of 2020, who will forget that? Yeah. It's the month that kind of rocked the world. And so in a period of literally just a handful of days, we went from meeting inside of our Kingdom Halls, where we love being, to meeting on virtual platforms like Zoom to help ensure the safety, not just of our congregants, but of the public, because we welcome visitors, and we didn't want to be in a position where we contributed to the spread of the disease as was breaking out and impacting so many people.
Yeah. So now, as we are in April, when did you guys officially come back in person?
Well, it was late breaking news.
Yep.
It just happened beginning last Saturday. So because of the conditions with the pandemic and because of numbers dropping, and you know, one thing about the pandemic, too, is vaccines have really broken the back of the pandemic. So between the vaccination rates, wearing masks, hospitals are no longer overwhelmed with patients. That sure helps. There are therapeutics that help if a person does get ill. So as we looked at the situation, not just here in California, but in the U.S., but worldwide, it seemed that as more and more people were responsibly opening up, we thought this is a time for us to do it safely for our parishioners and for the public that we welcome at our places of worship.
So tell me what some of your, congregation is saying now that you guys are back in person.
Love that question. Last weekend, I went to 4 different services, and I'll tell you a couple things I saw that I just loved. the friends, as we refer to each other, and our visitors are just ecstatic to be back. And if I can just share a couple of stories that I saw that I loved. I met a man named John, who's 80 years old. So at a Kingdom Hall in Southern California, this one city, John tells me that when he was a young man in the early 60s, he spent 3 years of his life along with others building the Kingdom Hall that we were at. It opened up in 1965. He was there for the dedication. He has spent his entire life worshiping there with his family, weddings, funerals, our regular services. And to see him at the Kingdom Hall, he had a grin ear to ear. But as we talked further, something else came up. His son, about my age, had just died. The funeral was a few days before, so he was there with a heavy heart. His wife, very faithful Jehovah's Witness, she couldn't attend. She was still on the Zoom feature that we still offer as an option because of her chronic condition. So for someone like John, he was glad to be back. He needed that to get the hug and support of others, even though he's there with a heavy heart. And in that same meeting, I met another young man named Jared, late 20s. He's what we call a Zoomer. Jared is someone who learned about Jehovah's Witnesses during the pandemic, had never stepped in a Kingdom Hall before, never knocked on a door like Jehovah's Witnesses do. But Jared, very successful person in the entertainment industry, and he lived a life that was very exciting, but it wasn't giving him fulfillment, if you know what I mean. And he was searching. He'd gone to a few different churches during the pandemic, and he came across Jehovah's Witnesses, liked what he learned. He studied and became baptized all on Zoom. Of course, baptized in person at a swimming pool in Southern California. So I got to watch Jared walk into Kingdom Hall for the first time in his life, grinning ear to ear. And the congregants, most had never met him in person before, and they're greeting him like an old friend. He's grinning ear to ear, and the last slide I saw before we started the service that day were about 6 elderly members of the congregation. They're almost like grandmas to him, taking turns hugging someone they'd never met before in person but knew so well. So just those two experiences alone are typical of what we saw last weekend across not just California, but really across the world with our reopening.
Yeah, great stories there. As we mentioned at the beginning of the interview, Easter's coming up. And it's kind of perfect timing that you guys are coming back in person with Easter.
You know, we feel the same way. Easter's a time where collectively people who are Christians across the world are thinking about Jesus Christ, what he did for us. And as Jehovah's Witnesses, part of our legal name is a Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. So we live by the principles of Jesus Christ. We accept him as our Savior. And to be able to gather together at what is really the most significant time of the year for us, because the memorial of Christ's death that he mentioned in Luke chapter 22, verse 19, keep doing this in remembrance of me, based off of the Passover celebration, that's our holy day. That's our one day of the year where we just set aside the day for spirituality and a relationship with Jesus and Jehovah. So the fact that those who serve Jehovah and all of our people of interest, Bible students, family members, the public, the idea that we can be together on Friday, April 15th, after sundown, to celebrate the commemoration of Jesus' death and all he did for us, it's really a special place in our heart. The timing couldn't be better, and we're just ecstatic about it.
So tell me a little bit about some of the services that's going to be happening, mainly specifically Bakersfield, Fresno area. What's going on?
Absolutely. So here in the Valley, as in other parts of the world, what Jehovah's Witnesses will be doing is this weekend, we're going to have a special talk that you'll hear across the Valley, and it's about hope. Where can you find real hope? I think we'd agree that hope seems to be under attack from every direction these days, and people need hope. So as Jehovah's Witnesses, we believe that the most meaningful hope comes from the Holy Scriptures, the promise from God's Word of better conditions soon. So our talk is based on that, how we can use the Bible to find comfort now and real hope for the future. The government we all, any Christian prays for, God's kingdom to come. We believe that that day is soon in coming, and our talk will focus not just on the coming of that kingdom, but what that kingdom will do for illness and war and disease and heartache. And we think it's an exciting topic that many will want to hear about this weekend. And then on Friday, the 15th of April is when we're going to have our memorial celebration. So across the valley here, our Kingdom Halls are reopened again. But we're taking good precautions to help ensure safety. For instance, while masks are not required, they're strongly recommended. When every Kingdom Hall I saw this past weekend, including my own mask, were probably about 99% of the congregants. Jehovah's Witnesses, most of them are vaccinated. We don't have any kind of political stand on vaccinations. We see the value in them in most cases, so it's a personal choice. So between vaccinations and masks and just using good sanitary, keeping the Kingdom Halls clean, wiping them down, we feel that we can celebrate this most important day of the year for Christians, and we can do it in a way that's safe for our people and for visitors. And we welcome our visitors to come. We like having people from the community in our Kingdom Halls.
And then Sunday, what's going to be happening on Easter?
On that day, there's nothing special that we do as Jehovah's Witnesses other than reflect on Christ's example in our life. So, for instance, Jehovah's Witnesses here in the Valley, across the world, will be doing a special Bible reading each day on the aspects of Christ's personality, the last days of his life. I know for me and for my friends, we'll be thinking on that Sunday about Jesus Christ being raised from the dead, resurrected. And as a resurrected spirit, he's the guiding force in our life. As Jehovah's Witnesses, we work hard to view Christ as not a historical figure or passive figure, but one that should help us make changes in our life, make us better husbands, better children, better neighbors, better coworkers. That's very important to us. And we want to share that message with others, both on Memorial Night, that following Sunday, and any other chance we have.
For more information, what's the best way to kind of, somebody that's watching today and they're thinking, well, maybe I'll look into joining.
Sure. Go to jw.org. That's our website. In fact, jw.org is the most translated website in the world. 1,056 languages are on that website. So you can log on there and you can look at information in any language you like. Of course, here in the Valley, what you can do is if you're English, Spanish speaker, any other language, you can log on. And on our homepage, our feature article right now is our memorial celebration. Some very interesting words about Jesus. And then a link you can click on so you can find a Kingdom Hall in your area. Or if you're apprehensive about going back in person, you can also click on that link and get a number where you can find out what the Zoom code is for the local congregation.
Oh, great. So you guys will do like a hybrid meeting.
Yeah. In fact, that's our plan now. Our plan right now is to have hybrid meetings indefinitely. That may change in the future. Because what we're finding, too, from last weekend is a number of our congregants are still a little apprehensive about coming back in person, and we understand that. We're not going to force anyone to come back. We'd like to have them there, but there's others with chronic illnesses. I have elderly parents, and they're 89 and 87. So they want to be back, but they want to pace themselves coming back, so we understand that. But if you go to jw.org, you can find that information. There's also lots of other information to help us cope, not just with the pandemic, but the anxiety of life. On our website, we also have spiritual programs. One I like is how to strengthen your spiritual core. I like to work out. We like to have a good core. That's an important part of good health. But spiritual core, Bible reading, prayer. So we have hundreds of videos online that people can look at to help them strengthen their relationship with God and maybe help them in their family as well, or with their neighbors and coworkers. So jw.org is a place to go.
Gene, happy Easter. Thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure being here, and thank you for your time. And we hope that we can give some encouragement to people here in the Valley who've been through so much over the past 25 months. And we're just glad to be moving to a mode where it's a little closer to normal. I think our comfort level is going to be a lot stronger as a result of that.
Love, hope, and courage.
Absolutely. That's, if I can just say that, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we love love. Jesus Christ taught us in Luke chapter 10, who is your neighbor? He used the example of the Good Samaritan, neighborly Samaritan. And the takeaway from that is our neighbor is not just a person in the faith. though we feel a special bond. But it's anyone in the community, someone who's not a Jehovah's Witness, someone who is from a different faith. We love people. Christ taught us that. I think when we practice that in our lives, no matter who we are, not only do we have better lives, but also we can please God. And that's something that we want to do. And so it's a pleasure to do that here in the Valley or anywhere else.
Very, very exciting time. Gene, thank you again. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, Austin. Thanks for your time.
All right, jw.org. Check it out, everybody. I'm Austin Reed. Thank you for joining us.